Today I'm going to talk about military culture and how I believe it can be changed to alleviate problems and increase the overall efficiency of the organization. The problems that I am aiming to address are abuses of power, enabling abuses of power, lack of trust, lack of morale, disrespect, especially to lower-ranking members, a lack of creativity, a lack of competency, unruliness in response to the abuse and/or incompetence, an overall lack of good leadership, and at its worst, incidents of committing heinous acts through bad leadership. Those within suffer abuse and dysfunction and have subsequent mental health degradation. The military as an organization suffers from the lack of competency, innovation, and the inefficiency it breeds. These things also affect the amount of recruits obtained and retained, especially of good members. While these issues will always be a factor to contend with, the cult-like nature of the military fosters such dysfunction. It also causes an us versus them mentality with civilian culture, creating a divide between servicemen and average citizen, and limits the support and efficacy of the military. This cult nature is emphasized largely in and starts at basic training, where a display of bad leadership and abuse of power is rampant. Whether inadvertent or not, which I will be discussing further, it sets an unhealthy precedent and infects the organization as a whole. While the military attempts to mitigate these negative repercussions by later teaching good leadership skills and healthy workplace tools, it does not fix the core issues, and the problems are left to continue and grow. Again, there are good, helpful teachings and values that should be kept at boot camp, albeit with some tweaking, such as an emphasis on teamwork. I will be discussing the ways in which we can emphasize the good that is there and accomplish the results of developing committed, team-oriented leaders and followers who keep healthy discipline and order and are well prepared for combat. I believe the military has fearfully gone too far in one direction, creating imbalance, that these outcomes are being sought through this cult-like mentality, fear, and excessive order. I hope to show you that this excess is not only unnecessary to do the job the military must, but is extremely toxic. These changes to ideas will not only prevent the negative repercussions that occur from the current culture and curriculums, but will drastically increase the efficiency of the military and health and well-being of its members. Since this is a broad-scale change, the minutiae of how exactly these changes should be implemented are going to be an ongoing discussion and process. But overall, this is not something that needs to create many additional costs or changes in manpower, if any, but more just changes to curriculum and policies. I will also present my suggestions on things that can be implemented fairly quickly and easily as a start. In fact, boot camps have already begun making these types of changes. For instance, in a recent article, it describes these changes with one instructor stating, "I'm about teaching them. I want to get them thinking. I want to mold thinking." I will be speaking more on the ideas that should be incorporated and unincorporated, as understanding baseline concepts is key. There are endless concepts that connect to this topic. I will be discussing the following subcategories as to why cults are unhealthy: the need for a healthy balance of care for group and individual, the need for wise trust, and the need for a healthy balance of order and creativity. In USCA Today, it describes how cults are connected to attachment theory and what's known as differentiation. Linkages plus differentiation equal integration and harmony. A psychologically healthy person is both linked to other human beings and differentiated from them. When linkage and differentiation occur, integration may be achieved, and individuals are in harmony with themselves, their family, and their social world. It is as if the group and the individual are both equally balanced and rely on each other. High-demand cultic groups insist on linkages but prohibit differentiation. Individual members within the group lack psychological integration within themselves as a result of certain cult dogmas and practices. For example, us versus them or good versus bad. The illusion of harmony may arise when these person objects unanimously comply with external directives. In the book Remote Brain Targeting, it also states that the armed forces are in fact a cult. In cults, trust is blind, but everyone, including the military, needs wise trust. In psychology today, Wise trust is described as assessing the probability of betrayal in recognition that we are frail creatures capable of betrayal in weaker moments. Realistically, it's possible that any of us could betray a loved one. Blind trust denies this darker characteristic of human nature. Suspiciousness exaggerates it. Good leadership relies more on reference, expert, and reward power. The military creates excessive order. Ideally, you need a balance of order and creativity. The government, laws, they all create an abundance of order and discipline that does not need to be supplemented. Brené Brown explains the concept perfectly in a 60 Minutes interview. She explains how organizations, including high-strung big businesses, would benefit from understanding the word vulnerability. She explains how it is a necessary precursor to creativity and innovation. She states, "If you have leaders who are either preaching a gospel of vulnerability is weakness or modeling that, just don't expect great things." The main thing that needs to be enacted is to eliminate hazing and the abusive, illogical forms of yelling. If yelling is used, it should be a realistic portrayal of what might be seen in combat. But it should still go hand in hand with healthy leadership. Stress is already abundant in the day-to-day tasks during boot camp, and it should be logical to prepare soldiers for real-life scenarios. For instance, simulations to enact combat scenarios, like at Beast Week, are a useful tool. The stress and abuse just should not come from military instructors. They should be role models as to what good leadership looks like. Likewise, rather than reinforcing the cult mentality in classroom sessions, they should be substituted with information on effective teamwork, leadership, and resiliency. We can track the success of these changes through tools we currently have, such as the DOCS and other surveys. In conclusion, military members do such a huge job. By understanding the deeper issues, we can make ourselves capable of far greater and morally good actions.